You're live.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Outer Realm with myself, Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano. We are broadcasting live here via the International Public Radio on United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM and 105.3 FM in New Orleans. This evening's segment is fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee. Thank you, Folgers. We love you more than anybody, just saying. I don't care how bad you want that Folgers coffee in the morning. We still love them more. Anyway, we are running a little bit late, trying to get used to this whole Skype thing. You'll see we're a little bit different format tonight to accommodate our guest, who, by the way, is Dr. Vicki Monroe, who's coming back to the show, and she's going to be continuing on from where she left off in the last segment, which was really amazing. But tonight, again, because we're on a different format, the only way to participate in the show will be on YouTube, at least with respects to us being able to see your comments. It will get streamed through StreamYard on all the regular platforms, but we will only be able to see and react to any comments made in the UFO Paranormal Radio or International Public Radio YouTube pages. So if you haven't subscribed, please do, and you can get yourselves in there and get ready for tonight's show. So again, we're doing this the old-fashioned way. So I have to go over because I think Amelia is posting this on Facebook.
500 pages.
I know. Okay, there it is. Yay. Okay. I see it coming through. And
it's a little bizarre.
Okay, good. My gosh, that was something. Waiting for the call.
Shortly.
Oh, yeah, and when we are definitely trying to get you to do that, darling. I did message you. I emailed you, Vicki. We are getting ourselves together. We only now just got live. So Joe will be bringing you in a few minutes, and I thank you for your patience. Had I known, I would have tagged you, but I can't.
I'd like to give a shout out to the sweet Janie Mashburn, who is constantly sharing us up on Instagram, and I'm just so very grateful. Both Michelle and I are very grateful, and we look forward to seeing your comments on the post on the Outer Realm. Thank you so much from both of us.
Yes.
Janie, woo. I've known Janie for a long time.
There we go. Okay. So whenever you're ready, Joe, I think we're ready to go now. Everything is up and at it. And we're getting everything all streamed out. So thank you for your patience, Vicki. We are working on it. Just running behind. This is not a format we use often anymore. Skype is more of a backup. Vicki will not be on screen, but she will definitely be on the
she's in the middle of nowhere, right?
Yep, exactly. Best respond to. Okay.
Yes. So while we're waiting, I can do a quick intro if you'd like.
Do it. Yep.
Our guest tonight is considered to be one of the world's leading psychic mediums. She was born with the ability to see, hear, and speak to the spirit world. Her gifts go beyond basic spiritual messaging to include spiritual counseling, cold cases, and more. With a listing in the book of the top 100 psychic mediums in the world today, we will be featuring for the second time Dr. Vicki Monroe. And hopefully.
Yep, Joe, bring her in. Hey,
this
Zach,
is the
man.
thing with Skype.
Hi, Jane.
It's so hard because we can't see anything but each other, and it's just with StreamYard we see everything that's going on everywhere. But
it's a little bit different.
So please just hi, Zach, man. Hi, Janie. We just gave you a shout out. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing us. It's a little weird because, like I said, the only chat room I have in front of me is YouTube, which is bizarre because usually we have so many. But it's a night off.
It is. It's just it's really different. So I'm just sitting here waiting. Vicki should be coming on board pretty soon. I think Joe's just actually getting all the StreamYard. So ready. So people will still be able to see it on Twitch and on Twitter and on the network Facebook pages. But if you're commenting or anything like that, guys, we are not going to see it in any way, shape, or form. Please come on over to the UFO Paranormal page where we can actually see your comments so we can address them, which would be outstanding.
Absolutely.
So, okay, good.
Yeah. So.
Oh, there she is.
Hi,
Sorry.
Dr. Vicki.
Hi there. How are you?
Good. Sorry. Our producer had like a brain toot. We're trying to get the Skype going.
Because we don't use it anymore. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like reschooling himself.
And my computer's not working right either. So it's like I tried to send you an email. Are we still on? And it said can't send. So I'm like,
I did email you too. Yeah. Okay. No wonder you didn't get it. So I definitely responded to you on Facebook.
Extremely remote.
I know it's
one of those days. It just is.
It has been one of those days. Actually, I think it's been a couple of those days.
Yeah, I know.
It must be something planetary because I've talked to a lot of people who say the same thing.
Oh yeah. Well, it could be.
No.
I would. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Everything's shifting. So.
Hopefully for the better.
I hope so too. Yeah, me too.
It's been a rough ride.
How are you ladies doing?
We're good. Well, I'm good. I can't say the same for Amelia, but
I'm okay.
I'm dandy.
I'm okay. Yeah, a little under the weather, but a lot better now.
Oh,
yes.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for asking.
And how about yourself? How are you faring up over there?
How are we feeling? We're doing good. Yeah, all's well.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. All's well. It's really, the weather's awful here, but it has been for like 2 weeks. So July's kind of becoming a washout, but we need the rain. We're in such a drought, but now it's better. So
here as well. It's been, and it's so funny. I said, the minute you open the pool, right? It's like when you wash your car, and it's been 3 weeks of maybe an hour. I haven't been by it at all, but my daughter is very brown, and she gets an hour here and an hour there, which is probably better. So she's not burning, but she's not getting a full day like you normally. July's the month that you rely on, right? For summer.
Right. Especially when you live in a cold area the rest of the time. It's your recharge. You're storing the D up, the vitamin D.
I remember
we're not getting anything.
I remember we had to put our names in a hat for who got to take the last week of July and the first week of August off, because those were the 2 best weeks of summer. So it's just to see it for the whole month. I'm like, really?
Well, this is just ridiculous. But
we don't get time off on the radio. So.
No, I know you don't.
No, that's about it.
Yeah.
That's about it. Amelia, can you check the chat? I'm not seeing us on there. It might have just popped over to StreamYard. I don't know. But
because everybody's talking to us.
I know.
I'll ask them.
Yeah, there's I can't see any imaging, which doesn't mean it's not on all the other formats. This is just sort of new for us. Why don't we pick up, for those who didn't catch you here the first time around, why don't we quickly recap on who you are, how you came to be who you are, being born with these abilities, so on and so forth.
Well, basically, as you said, I was born this way. I discovered or had my first kind of experience when I was 4, when I was going to be baptized, and explained it to my mother, who I saw, which wasn't there for anybody else in the church that day, but just that I was seeing people not in a fearful manner, but in just it was actually a comforting manner, but something that I assumed everybody else could see. And it was interesting to find out that, she had told me, well, no, not everybody is seeing what you're seeing, so let's kind of keep this between the two of us. And until, maybe at some point, she was very, she was very, and it didn't come until later on when I went through school and everything else, got married, and I actually moved to Europe because my husband was in the military, and started seeing even more than I had prior to. it was always there, but I kind of had a way of controlling it more. But after I started having children, your brain gets messed up anyway because you're taking care of kids. But
Yeah.
and it just started. There was a massive influx, and then when my sister passed away with her husband, it became extra strong. And after that, it just became, explosive to the point where there was no controlling it. You were just seeing things and people 24/7. And, I've been doing this for almost 30 years now. And 4 children and 5 grandchildren later, it's still going strong.
Wow.
So,
Excellent. Do you find
going strong.
Perhaps once your sister had that tragic accident, that because someone you love so much was on the other side, you just felt it even more because she was reaching for you?
I think so, and that she, it's interesting. Karma is real, and she used to, make fun of me at times, and not in a negative way, but there's always 75% of reality when somebody says something to you, and so I never took it personally, but it was interesting that the minute that she crossed over, she's in my bedroom in Germany, and telling me, well, you were right, and it was extremely gratifying.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the fact that she crossed over, but she was just. My sister was hilarious, and even in this moment, she's in a great place, but she would make it fun. And I'm gonna end up, dealing with the loss and how sad and it was horrible. But she was what got me through it and helped me to get my mother through it and my father through it.
Yeah, and, especially.
And it was because it was for them. Losing a child is just, I can't even imagine. But it really ended up working for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had 4 other siblings that were still here. And, they may, some don't necessarily agree or believe, but that's okay. They've all come to shows that I've done, and they've all, been a part of this. And so I have great support, and it's helped me to keep going.
That's fantastic. How did your friends react to this when you started? I'm just curious because I went through this.
Well, it's funny because I got married 2 years after I got out of high school. So, and I moved right away to different states, and my husband was in the service. So I never really saw much of my friends. And over the years, I think I have, of the 5 of us, I had 4 really great friends in high school and other friends. But the 4 friends that I was with all the time have all crossed over.
Oh, wow. My gosh.
So there's not really much that I could say about them other than I've seen them and they look great. But they're all over there. It was my sister and then 2 sisters and then my best friend have all crossed over. So
wow.
That's a lot of loss.
That's a lot of loss. It was. It was very hard.
It is.
But there's still some people that I'm friends with, and through the powers of Facebook and Instagram, I can still have comments, see how their lives are going and whatnot. But yeah, so in that respect, there's not much I could say, about them. But
well, how about for grieving? Because I know Amelia suffered a loss, of her father, and I've suffered losses in my life, and as mediums, for me, I personally find it easier because I can see them and still communicate. But there, not a lot of people look at it the same way. What are your thoughts on that? Did it make it easier for you?
It does. It does. I mean, did I feel the pain of it? Absolutely. I mean, I lost my dad too, and I was actually in the room with him when he left.
So was I. That's hard.
Yeah, and
that's really hard.
He ended up standing at the foot of the bed next to me, and because of the cancer that he had shrunk quite a bit because it was a terminal bone cancer. But he was standing next to me, back to his 6'2", nice
Wow.
and lean, and he had a basketball because he was a sports person and he was a coach, and he had his ball and he says, "Well, see ya."
Wow.
And I just said, "Well,
A little
don't you feel
harsh.
better?" He goes, I don't even remember it.
Wow.
And he said, and I thought, well, that's the best gift, Dad. And he said, "I'll be dropping in," and he has periodically, from time to time. He stops by, and I know two of my grandchildren have seen him, and it's interesting because his name was Charlie, and one of them had said to me one night, the next morning, I saw Charlie last night, and I said, "Oh, really? Who is that?" "Well, isn't that your dad?" I said, "Oh, that is Dad."
All right.
Yeah, but I mean,
Wow.
kids can see,
They
and they were
can.
quite young
That's
at
right.
the time, so they newly arrived within the first 5 or 6 years. They remember a lot still. But yeah, to get back to your question, Michelle, it's hard because you can't hug them like you used to.
No, that's true. I
You know,
think it is the physical that people can't get past, I guess.
Right.
It's
You're
also
exactly right.
the routine, like, when your father's ill, or like my dad in a home, or any loved one that is somewhere where you're constantly actively a part of their well-being and their life. It's all of a sudden it's like, well, this is weird. I haven't heard from the home today. And then it clicks. You're reminded again. That's what I think was the hardest, but content that he's in a better place, and that he's reunited with my brother and my sister and my mother, which is really, I'm happy for that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know that they're okay. It's always harder for those that are left behind. And, even, I don't, it's difficult sometimes, I think, because I remember when my sister passed away and my dad had to run down to the market for something that morning, and somebody had said to them, because they were hit by a young man, decided to drive through a stop sign and turn his lights out, playing a game.
Nice.
And the man that came up to my dad had said, "Well, you should see his family. His family's a mess." And my father was so angry with him, this man, because, we're the ones that had just lost, and this boy's fine, but his parents are a mess over it, because what would the town think? And it was just kind of, and I'm not there. I'm in Germany, so I can't help, and I can't get home to be with them because we can't get a humanitarian, it's a form that we get to, go away for emergencies or go home, and I couldn't get one.
Yeah.
My husband couldn't.
Yeah.
And so it was difficult, I couldn't be there. And so for me, seeing her in spirit at first almost felt like maybe I'm dreaming.
Right.
Oh, so surreal, because you didn't actually see your body.
It's actually real. This can't be real.
Yeah.
It's not real. It's got to be somebody else. And and inevitably you realize that it's the truth, and it's acceptance, and it's not living without them, because they'll always be with you. It's just learning to live out without their physical presence. They're still a part of you. They're just not physically in front of you. They may be spiritually right beside you. They're just not physically in front of you anymore.
Yeah.
And that's not really, I mean, it's hard for gifted people sometimes to get their head around that. I mean, can you imagine somebody who hasn't tapped into their abilities at all?
Right.
I mean, I've seen people go completely over the edge and bring in all this negative energy and activity because they want so desperately to get a message from a loved one, and they just take whatever they can get.
Yeah, they do. I've had that too, Michelle. I have. I mean, it's hard because you know that that's not it, and you don't know. At times, you're just like, I just want them to feel better.
Right.
So, but I mean, when they start to do the negative thing, it's just sometimes when I don't know. I have a hard time with that.
It becomes extremely unhealthy when they're seeking out psychic readings weekly. or monthly, it becomes, for my opinion anyways, it becomes very unhealthy.
No, I agree.
Well, you're not really healing,
Michelle.
right?
Right.
What's it? It's just harder to heal.
Right.
It really is. And it you almost feel guilty as a medium that you can communicate. You almost feel guilty, and it's hard because they don't always come around either. It's not like you can call them and they just show up. You know, a lot of people that are not in this field think, oh, well, you can just call them in. No, I don't have a direct line. Yeah.
We're not conjuring, you know, we're
no, absolutely. Well said. Yeah.
Right. It's like, that's what I tell people. I can't conjure anybody up, and I can't guarantee who's going to be here. I can't guarantee anything.
That's a big one with
the message
with
I
clients.
I will give to you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sitters have a problem with, because they watch television, and what they don't realize is that these mediums that are on TV, you're getting the best of all their reads. You're not getting the stuff that ended up on the floor. You know, you're not getting the ones that the father didn't come through, or the husband didn't come through, or the child didn't come through. You're not seeing those. You're seeing the ones that were like hit dead on, maybe one out of how many?
50, 60.
Yeah. So it's
knows?
like, just because you have that time doesn't, you know, it doesn't mean that they're going to come through. They'll come through when they need to come through.
Right.
You know.
Absolutely.
But
I agree with you 100%.
Thank you. When did you start working? I see you work criminal cold cases, which I do as well. When did you start that, and how did you start?
Well, I was working, I had a radio show for 10 years here in Portland. And I apparently some of the police force in the city listened to the show. And I would just have callers call in, and we'd read them, you know, over the phone. And apparently there had been a homicide in the city, and one of the detectives had called me and said, we're just running, the case is cold, we just don't know. And so the victim's mother was sent to my office, and she brought a bag of the young lady's things, and I was just, I've never done that before. I've never had to really touch anything to get a visual. You know, usually it's just a voice, or, you know, with the mother there, it was pretty clear that she would show up because she walked right in behind her mother. And she was there, and she was explaining that, you know, at least her mother knew when she left my office that her daughter was indeed had passed away, and that she was okay, because she just, you know, I could tell her mother what she was wearing, what her outfit looked like, and it was, you know, confirmed that that's what she had last been seen in. And then, you know, the detective called me the next day and asked me what my feelings were on the case. And I just listened to her. You know, the minute I talked to him, she showed back up and was explaining to me where she was, the first name of the gentleman who did this to her.
Excellent.
And not the gentleman that they thought might have done it.
That is fantastic.
So it ended up, she had said to me, and they have to hurry because they need to find me before the first snow falls. And I got a call one day, and I kind of had, you know, didn't really follow too much up on it because, you know, I watched the news, and if anything had been on there, I would have seen it. Any updates, I didn't hear from him. And I heard from him the day the snowfall started to fall here, but she was in my living room, and she told me to look outside because I'm on the phone with him, and she said, and the snow was falling, and then she disappeared. But they did find her where she had told me. I don't want to say excellent. Where she told me they were. They did find. Yeah.
That's excellent. You give the family closure. It's not always what they want to hear, but it's I've seen families looking for their children for years, and it's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. And the thing is, you know, the show that I did, psychic detectives and psychic investigators, you know, it gets shown all the time, and I really have such a backlog of those types of cases that I'm just not even taking on new ones at this point in time because I'm trying to keep up with the ones that I already have. And it's very hard to tell someone, I can't get to it at this time because I'm, it's their baby or their daughter or their child, whoever their loved one is that's missing.
That's
I
hard.
have to tell, oh my gosh, I literally have a pile, and I
Yeah.
just can't get to it. I will tell them as soon as I have an opening, I will let you know. But in the meantime, I pray they find that person, healthy and well.
Well, a good thing to do too is I used to work on a team, so what I do is I revert back to them. I pick the ones that are the strongest, and I will pass. I just got one on the weekend, and I said to her, she's someone on my Facebook page, and her niece is missing, and I said to her, I'm working on an 11-year cold case personally with the mother and the detectives, and I can't take time away from it besides all the time that I spend with Michelle working the malevolent cases. So I ask permission, and then I just continue and pass it along, because this way they can get something, because the longer it takes to get on it, the colder it gets, even more difficult for mediums, because you can't pick up on the energy, and God forbid that person is in more than one place, and I won't, go into details about how that happens. Sure. It's a difficult thing. So I try to get as many other people under in my contact list as possible. Yeah. If I find that they're really good at something and they're really good at remote viewing or really good at working cold cases, I ask them if I can rely on them, and that's what I do to share it up. I know because they recognize you and they've seen you, so they really want you, and it's hard. Right. But you can only do so much. Otherwise, you can't do justice to the people you're working for right now.
Exactly. And I mean, in these cases are first come first served basis.
Absolutely.
It's not about she's 5 and that breaks my heart. But it's still a missing person.
Everybody's somebody's daughter. That's what I always say, But if they're in the process of that they just went missing, do you take them at all, or is that something to let known, or is that something that you just have to pass? If it's in the last 24 hours, that's a hot trail.
Yeah, that is, and that's something that the police and everybody else should be working on. That's not something that you need to come to me for. Not yet, I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, there's a lot of cold cases here. That are unsolved, and I think they even have a cold case team that works for the police here. And I'm just I work on my own, but it's a lot. It's a lot to do.
It is, and unfortunately, they always come to a psychic route last. That's usually the last resort. Right. What do we do now? But
I mean,
it's taxing.
I was working on a case where a plane went down in the 1930s and shot down by soldiers here in New England, and they've never been able to find the plane. And but the thing is what they also is harder to find, and I'm trying to get the point across to people, is when you've been in the ground or become a part of the ground for so many years, it's almost virtually impossible to find some people because their DNA. But you can get, Godiva dogs or things like that to sniff out DNA. DNA could come out in trees, can come out in on plants in areas that you think the crash site would be in. So that's one of the things I've been working on lately is this crash site. And it's we haven't found. I mean, the plane we think has landed in a lake, but we'll see. And it was a very popular artist and actor, I guess. I don't even remember his name at the moment, but he was a passenger in this plane, and it's for this gentleman.
They need to bring in forensic scientists though for something like that, because you have to study.
So old.
It's all about the currents and the sonar.
Exactly. And but all these people have done it, and it's literally never. It's one of those. I wouldn't even call it a cold case. It's an unsolved mystery. It's almost like the Bermuda Triangle, where where planes and boats go missing
Mm-hmm.
and are never found. It's
Yeah.
kind of like that situation. That's how I'm kind of looking at it as, well, it's a Bermuda Triangle up in New England, and it's a bunch of lakes, but nothing has ever been found. So it's an interesting dynamic.
Well, they have triangles and vortices all over the world, you know,
Oh,
and
yeah, absolutely.
if I think if people spent too much time looking for that as opposed to, let's say, a fresh case which
Yeah.
has a potential of saving a life or actually finding that answer, you know, that unsolved mystery isn't going to go anywhere. It's going
yeah,
to,
exactly. It's not changing in 30 years, that's for sure.
exactly. I feel for anyone who's lost someone. You know, people go missing all the time, and sometimes explainable, sometimes not, and
No.
it makes it really, really hard. But you would think, to make things a bit easier, that even if a spirit's been gone, let's say in this case in the plane, that one would just come through and, you know, be like, okay, tell me what you know, like, where are you, what happened, and you think it would make it a little easier. So if they don't come through, is it because they're you know, stuck in that spot? Have they reincarnated? Have they, you know?
Yeah, those are all the things that you go through, you
Right.
know, and at this point, you know, we're I'm kind of just, it's an unsolved case.
Yeah, it's a tough one, eh?
It's a tough one. It really
Yeah.
is. It's very tough. So
Yeah.
I'm you know, I have quite a bit, but and you know, and with lockdown, how did you guys do in lockdown? Were you guys good?
We're still in it. We're just getting out on Friday.
Oh, well, where are
we're
you?
still in plague jail. Yes, we are.
We're in Southern Ontario.
Okay, see, I thought it said New Orleans.
Our radio station is in New Orleans.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys
and
are
they're doing fine. They're doing fine.
New
They're
Orleans
still,
is booming. Yes.
Partying in New Orleans, but for how long, we don't know.
Yeah, I've got my first hair appointment next week. Thank God for my magic fingers that I'm able to do it on my own. But but I can't. I'm not cutting my own hair. So
no, don't do that. Don't go in that direction. It's never a good answer, right?
Not even when it was on the exam. I used to do hair a long time ago. So for me to buy a bucket of bleach and do my hair and dye it, Michelle's the only one who heard me complaining the whole time. I gotta mix these 3 colors, but whatever. But yeah, it's okay. It's been a long time, you know. It's not like
it's been a very long time. I had no idea you guys were still in lockdown over there, or it's easing for you. But we've been out of it since, well, I guess we started in May and we're fully out of it now. But I mean, now the cases are coming back, so I don't, you know.
Yeah.
We went down in March and are just going into stage 3, and we still have restrictions.
Oh, sure. Well, I don't think you guys are stupid that you have restrictions over there, because sometimes I think we came out of it. I guess the world will see how this plays out, but I mean, I
think
know.
Everybody's learning with all of it, right? We're all learning. None of us know anything about it.
Yeah, exactly. I think so too. Everybody's learning, and everybody's got to do what's best for them. So
you can't even get me started. So I'm
no, I won't. I mean, there's so much. It's just so much.
I wanted to ask you, for those that are listening who are just finding their gifts and realizing that, hey, I can do this. What kind of things do you suggest in them to prepare before doing an actual reading, and what do you recommend for them to learn more about themselves?
I think, you know, I think everybody needs I do believe that everybody was born with something. We all have a unique innate ability that we I don't want to say that we have, but a lot of people, you know, from the minute that we're born, we're being bombarded with information coming from living relatives and people that love us, and telling us that this is right, this is wrong, and talking that gift right out of us. Because no one's born hating or negative or has any phobias about anything. You're born loving. That's the way it is. And you're also born remembering, because you are everyone you've ever been. So there is an ability. And I think if one feels like, I've never been in touch with that, I've never had anything, I don't have an ability. Well, you do. So what I would suggest is, and it's very simple, there are certain techniques via meditation, through deep relaxation, whatever you find, and you have to kind of play around with it. There's journaling, there's automatic writing, and it's just like anything else. If you want to be an all-star athlete, it's practice, 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 practice. Even if you just want to be athletic, it's practice, practice. This doesn't come automatically back to you. Now, for some who've known their ability and used it a little bit or understood it, that it was there for most of their lives, it's not going to be as difficult. If you want to make it stronger, just use those techniques that work for you. But you've kind of got to play around with it and practice and use what feels best for you. For me, it was I have to go to a meditation, and I'll go and do yoga, or I'll go for a run. I'll do something just to clear my head of them, because there's so many in there. But for other people who want that, and I don't know why they would, but would want to see or communicate more, I usually tell people to pay very, very close attention to their dreams, and before they go to sleep at night, to try to calm their mind and kind of just try to turn things off and go through like a 10-step process of relaxation from your head all the way to your toes. And once you're asleep, pay attention to your dreams. The people that you see in your dreams. A lot of times you may be looking at past lives, but the person that you're seeing you recognize, but perhaps not in this life. So there's just all kinds of different things to look for. Look for a pet. Animals often show up. But it's important to figure out what you think your ability might be, and then focus on just that. Don't worry if you don't have a psychic ability. Maybe you're an animal intuitive. Maybe you're an empath. Maybe you're all, something else. Focus on that one. Don't worry if you're not a medium. Don't worry about that.
Well, how do you separate the dreams for the visitations when you're talking about loved ones and pets and so on?
Because in the dream state, souls, it's very easy for a soul to come through.
Right.
Because also they don't, it's unlike, the three of us, we can see them walking around daily. But for the majority of humanity, they could see things in dream states. And the soul knows this, and the soul that's crossed over knows this. And oftentimes when somebody crosses over, it's usually within the first week or two, somebody will just get, and I always call it their cameo. They get the cameo appearance from their loved one, popping into a dream, and you just see kind of their head in like a cameo look, and they look great and healthy and fine, and just letting you know, I'm fine. It's all going to be okay. I'm good. And that's it. And then they may see periodically as, they're starting to come out of the process of grieving, and there is no time limit on that. We all grieve differently, and there's no right or wrong way to that. But, they will themselves, and periodically it's going to be different. So to be aware of that, to be aware of dreams can oftentimes be a gateway for the spirit world to come and visit. So pay attention to them. And I also get people that will say, but I don't dream. I don't remember my dreams. Well, that's something you can work on.
Well, see, that's where I find visitations tend to be extremely vivid. You can remember every detail, conversations with your loved ones, whereas dreams tend to be very elusive. You get bits and pieces of things.
Well, I think...
At least for me. At least for me.
No, that makes sense. But for people that don't see like we do, any little glimpse of someone that they love, that they just lost, it can be the difference between going to bed that night with a feeling of, she's okay. She's okay. That was her. I saw her. I know I saw her.
Right.
That's enough. for them, or I saw my dog. There she is. I see her, and it might have been just a split second, and they wake up in the morning, but they feel a sense of they're okay, and it helps them, even if it just helps them get through a few moments throughout the day. It helps them.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting the glimpse. I think there's a difference between the two. With a visitation, oh my gosh, yes, what you said, but with the dream state, I think most people just want a glimpse of that person, and a lot of times that's how they'll get through.
Right. Yeah, I guess it's different for myself. I've had reoccurring visitations where members of the same family, for example, my grandfather, my grandmother had a dream house, and in this visitation, he's basically building it, and he's showing me that if a pet was lost within the family, the pet would be there. Every time that, let's say, an aunt or uncle would pass, they would somehow be there at the same place, the same. It was just very bizarre. That's like, but
it's very bizarre.
Yeah, but showed me like, no, we're here. This is what we're all waiting for. This is what we're all participating in. It's like, all right, So it's very, very different. I'd like to just jump into getting into different, I guess, your strengths as an intuitive. When you're looking at channeling or even automatic writing, even though it would have to be a pretty honed in ability, but a lot of people would look at as a form of possession, right?
Really?
Allowing something to, you're allowing something to step into you, right? When you're channeling somebody, let's say, to speak through you, for example. Some people would look at that as, well, isn't that a form of possession? So just putting it out there to you.
I guess if you think, I would tell anybody, there's a fabulous book that was written years ago, by the way, by a woman, and I don't know if you've heard of her or not, but her name was Ruth Montgomery.
Yes.
And she was ended up working for John Kennedy at one time as a press secretary. And when she retired, she was still writing a lot. And in her many books that she ended up writing, she had a spirit guide that she discovered named Lily. And Lily was the one that would do the automatic writing and ended up, giving her information about things that were happening. And I mean, in the 80s, I think she wrote these books. But one is about it. Actually, it's about her in the automatic writing. This is how she did it.
Right.
And I guess she would never consider that to be possession because she knew who the spirit guide was, and she wasn't inviting them in. They had kind of during a meditation that she was in, they contacted her and said, "Hey, this is the deal. You want to work with me or not?" But but I got information.
Move over.
Move over, and I'll start writing for you. And she would go into her meditation, but she did always do a protection, a prayer of protection, which I think is always a good idea. But she did that, and when she was done, she'd have all this information, and she ended up writing many, many books. And if you can look her up, her name, and some of the things that are happening in the world right now are things she wrote about, which is pretty interesting. Just the dynamics of what's going on with the global warming and things like that between us and all that. But it's very interesting. But it's all about automatic writing. And so in that respect, I don't consider that her to be possessed because she was known, to this spirit guide and has known it for a long time. But, I've never, have you guys ever worked with possession?
All the time. All the time.
Yeah,
I've worked with priests from every religious organization. 18 years of working with, full-blown possessions are pretty rare. But in this case, she knew who her guide was, so she allowed her to step in. But there are mediums out there who will go to, let's say, a haunted location, for example, and allow the spirit to walk into them and speak through them. You know what I mean? That sometimes spirits are grounded. That is possession. I'm sorry.
That That is
you know,
Bubbly stuck on the stairs and Michelle saving her. That's what that was.
That was what?
yeah.
I didn't hear that. What?
Oh, it was something that happened to me. But anyways.
Oh.
Yeah. I
Well,
mean,
that doesn't sound good though. Yeah.
No.
No, I've never, and I don't want to, so I'll just knock on wood on my desk. I never want to go through anything like that. So I've never had anything like that
Right.
ever happen. And I live in a haunted house, but I've never had anything like walk into me. I have had an experience just one time where I didn't know how a certain person passed on, and I felt the pain that they had.
right.
And they had a brain tumor or an aneurysm, and it exploded in their head, and I felt that. So,
Right.
but that I didn't consider it possession. I just considered, because I have that kind of situation all the time. Like I'll feel like my heart's going to explode, so I know somebody had a heart attack, but I don't think it's possession.
No,
No,
but you're
no,
picking up
I know
on,
what
let's
you're
say,
talking about.
reading.
yeah, picking up and doing
like
a read on.
Conjuring and you know the one that I just watched that freaked me out. See, that stuff's scary.
Yeah, I didn't.
I've never been afraid of what I do. That's just scary. You guys,
Yeah.
you guys are amazing.
Well, I wasn't conjuring. We were at an investigation, and it just happened to. She just happened to step right through me on the stairs and keep me there.
Oh,
But and I know to look and see
Yeah.
around me. So that is scary, but that's not the first time it's happened. I've had
holy moly.
automatic writing where I've lost 4 to 6 hours at a time.
And
you know,
did you have like it written? What did you have written down? Anything?
it was I was doing something for someone, and I was talking to them on the phone, and I was talking to them, and I thought, yeah, I can do this. We're good.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, it's like hours later, and my office has papers everywhere. I don't recommend anyone doing that without somebody with experience next to them to pull them out, so to speak. It's not something I would do without Michelle, because I trust her and I know she's going to pull me back in, and she could feel, she reads right through me. So we're connected on a different level. It's a little bit different, but to automatic write just at the top of your head because you want to try it, like what I did, is like not recommended at all.
So
it's very dangerous.
You wouldn't recommend using Ouija boards and things like that either?
Absolutely not. But I don't recommend.
I'm the same way.
I don't recommend any form of communication. Not any, not even a recorder.
That's an invite. You know, you're even doing EVPs. You're putting forth an object or it's just another avenue of communication. You have to be careful with it because now with all of these shows out, you have phone apps, you have all of this stuff. And when you're initiating that contact, you will get it. I've worked with some really seasoned mediums through the years, from all over the world, really. And I could see somebody like in Amelia's case, you're just standing there and you're trying to tap into a spirit and bam, right in there. Like in Ruth's case, a bit different. This is her guide. She's familiar with him or her. She's accustomed to working with her. If she so chooses to share her space, that's a little bit different than having something step into you. Everybody thinks possession is just, it's demonic possession. That's pretty major. But there are spirits that will just uninvitingly just step in and not want to leave, or they're aggressive and they want to get their message out, and this is not how it works. Like to me, that's just like, I'm sorry, I don't recall inviting you.
Right.
It's intrusive, it's dangerous, but it's
especially
also
when you're a medium, you can tap in, you can pick, you can have
like,
that
here, let me just speak for you. But sometimes they're tapping on you, and you're waiting a minute to talk, and they're like tap 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 tap, and like Michelle said, they're aggressive, and they're like, hey, I'll just come right in and speak. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't work that way. Like, back off. That time was scary because 3 guides and it still happened. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, so protected, so careful, and yet walked right through me going up the stairs, and stayed there. So
I've had something walk through me a couple of times, but it was just literally through.
Yeah. I felt my mother's spirit go through me when she passed away. Her, I felt go right through me. But it's scary. Having a guide do that is a whole other story because you're giving permission. But when somebody just walks in there, it's
you
like,
build
holy
trust,
crap.
I think.
So do you think though that in situations like that, that just a random person can sit down and just start, and invite someone in, or do you think it's somebody that is more accessible? Maybe they don't know they're accessible. You know what I mean?
I think it happens all the time, and
right.
That's why we all get phone calls.
It happens to children a lot too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mimics.
Yeah, it's true. Or something just comes in. It's like something's not right. I don't know how it happened.
Right.
I mean, look at people in comas, for example. How many cases that are documented where people have been in long-term comas, and they come out of it, or I won't even say long-term. It's happened on a few shorter term, like, not a day or anything. But I think there is that theory that people leave the body during a coma. They're not going to stay in the car, in the garage, they're just going to step out. Where something else steps in, and then they come out of it and they have no idea that this is their spouse, that these are their kids, their parents, and then they're just gone. They just walk away. They get better, and they
isn't that considered to be a walk-in?
Exactly.
A step in, yeah.
Right.
What we were just talking about.
The soul of the person that went into the coma has crossed over, and a new soul has stepped in, and they're going to pick it up right in the middle.
Oh, the soul's not always crossed over. Sometimes the soul just got pushed aside.
There have been cases, where
because
a person resurfaces,
someone who's possessed still has their soul.
Sometimes
I don't
people
know.
have both.
That's a tough one for me. I know I was reading a story on George Lucas.
Right.
And he had, I guess, when he was growing up, very reckless, not a nice person, and was in a terrible motorcycle accident and was in a coma for quite a while. And when he woke up, he was a completely different person, a very kind person, a very nice person. And a lot of the Star Wars movies that he ended up producing were from places that the soul that was within him now was right, that he had seen. These are places he visited and talked about. And so that's like, he was a classic. To me, from what I've studied, everything was a classic walk-in. But there was no other soul present. His other soul left. He was void. And this new one, because his parents were just like, who's this person and why is he so kind?
Yes.
But it was a completely different person.
We're okay with this.
Yeah, we're okay with that. Yeah, you can stay. But so I mean, I think it goes in so many different directions. All of this stuff is just
it's all
talk
theory.
About one thing and you could talk about it all night long. There's just so many variants.
No, it's all theory until we get there, I guess, isn't it? Like
it really is, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because you just read so many, case files on stuff like this, and it almost seems so surreal. And I mean, if you think about it, split personality disorder.
Sure.
Could that be a the Sybil effect, which one's stepping in right now?
Sure. Right.
Like, gosh, like what is there, tug of war going on in there? And just
and I wondered in that particular case, I wondered often if, the soul was remembering so many different, people that she'd been, never really able to disconnect from any of them and become the one person that she was, Sybil, in this life. And I remembered all of them, and those personalities, whenever she saw a certain object or talked to a certain person or smelled a certain flower or anything like that, would remind a different aspect of that another lifetime would come forward.
Absolutely.
And I think the abuse would have pushed her into that also.
Sure. Oh yeah.
But that's interesting. It is. Again, it's just so much theory involving it all. It's just
and it really the key word was that you said that, Michelle, was evolving. It really is.
Yes.
Yeah. It's constantly evolving, and we're always going to be learning. No one's an expert in this field.
No.
There never will be.
No, absolutely not.
Always going to be learning.
I don't think they're experts in split personality disorder either, in my opinion. But
Oh, Vicki, all your emails just came in.
so your internet's working.
Yeah, I'm
Just
thinking,
letting you know.
Just now.
oh my God, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Oh, did it come in? So my computer just kicked in then.
Oh yeah,
There you
I was
go.
going to say
You're
your
all
email
good.
just arrived.
Oh, good. Yay.
I would
I
love
told you it's not working.
I would
Better
love
late than never.
to talk to you
yeah.
about spiritual
awful.
counseling.
Yes.
What do you mean by spiritual counseling? Like, what do you do with when someone comes to see you for that? How long does it take? What kind of format does it involve? A reading? Because I know a lot of people ask that question. So I thought you to answer it would be the best.
Well, spiritual counseling is not like a therapist. I don't have people come back every week, but I give them their session, their reading, and who comes through and the messages that they deliver. Because I don't, I never put my own input into anybody's session. I repeat. That is all.
Mm-hmm.
Of what they're saying, and I only deliver the message and what they're advising. But like if somebody's asking me certain questions and the soul on the other side is saying, that's a part of your journey. You're going to have to decide what you want to do with this. I can't give you all the answers because that's taking your lesson away from you. So it's kind of like taking them through and giving them, a list of maybe there's some books they can read to help them get to the next level. And it's things that their guides have told them to try to maybe communicate better. Just different aspects of spirituality. What will work for you? What do you like? How can we implement that into you using it to, make you more comfortable in starting this process? I was working with someone for a couple of years, and I would see her maybe once every summer, and now she is a licensed hypnotherapist. So she found her niche through speaking to her grandparents and her mother, and now she's doing this, and she loves it.
She probably needed that encouragement and that confidence coming from them.
Right.
That's wonderful.
I mean, and if you think about what, counseling is, anybody can counsel someone. It's coaching someone. It's helping them to find out what you like. If you don't like the job you're in, don't be afraid to try something new. The more you know, the better. But, they just kind of, I guide them through whatever their guides are telling me. It's not me saying, this is what you need to do. I have no say in that. I can barely do my own thing. So I just need to help them, and the only way they can do that is if their guides come through, and then I will help them with that. But, to be all honest, I don't always have all the answers, and they don't always have all the answers. Sometimes you kind of have to do the work.
That's a great point. I'm glad that you said that, because oftentimes we'll get people who come to us and like, well, can you tell me this? It's like sometimes you're not meant to know. It's a lesson.
Right.
And I'm so glad that you said that. I love spiritual counseling, by the way. I think it's amazing because you get to communicate with their guides for them because they can't. Right. And it builds a relationship with them. And eventually I feel like they can move on and start learning how to communicate with them in different ways. I love that you do that.
Right. Oh, thank you. And I love that they then go forward and they're helping people.
Yes.
Absolutely. And they never thought they could.
Raising the vibration.
That's right. That's right. That they never really realized they had, but they always wanted. Well, no, we just showed you where it is, and now you're doing it. You're doing the work, and you're doing a great job, and now this is your life. So it just changes their dynamic, and they start moving forward. But it's really just about helping people find their niche, and if they're meant to know it or meant to maybe kind of guide them in the direction. But sometimes they may have to try 2 or 3 things. Like you said, Amelia, it's sometimes the answers aren't there. Sometimes you just got to do the work. We can help guide you a little bit, but if you don't do the work, what was the point in you being here?
I can't get the answers for myself sometimes. So
yeah.
I think that's why so many people gravitate towards, trying to figure out who they were, in a past life, and trying to determine whether what they bring through really is them in a past life, or is it like like DNA imprinting, because we really are our ancestors, seriously, and you bring that through, and I mean, let's face it, if you have a relative who died in the war, for example, or at any point went through a whole lot of pain or suffering, that does imprint and that does make its way through. And I think understanding that helps us evolve and move forward into, I mean, again, expanding on your abilities for sure, but being a complete functional person in society. Sometimes it's not, the problems aren't always in the present.
No, I don't. I agree with you, because, like I said in the beginning, you're everyone you've ever been,
Yes.
and every lifetime is a part of your soul that
Right.
reincarnates, and soul memory is huge.
Yes.
To walk up and to meet someone you don't know, but the gravitational pull is huge. Whether
Yes.
it's liking or disliking, there you are. You're meeting someone that you've known before.
Right.
So you're absolutely right that you're imprinted. It's why you love certain places. I mean,
Right.
why we're drawn to certain things, and other things are revolting to us or just
Mm.
have no interest. So I agree. I think that's absolutely true.
And do you encounter that? Like, do you address any of that in your counseling?
I do. Because there are people that, well, for example, and I don't talk about my clients personally.
No, of course not. That's okay.
Right. But, for example, if somebody's married the same person 3 times and each time it's always ended poorly, well, when are you going to wake up on that one?
Right.
You're right. So it
That's
didn't
a
work the
faux
first
pas.
time.
Stop it.
Okay, right. So, those are things that, that's a soul thing. And,
Right.
people that meet people and they feel this attraction and it's so strong, but there's a million red flags going up. And I tell them, but why? Okay, red flags. What is that telling you? Something's trying to tell you this is not a good direction to go into.
Right.
Rather than thinking it's all in your brain, how about it's your spiritual self, and maybe somebody on the other side talking to your soul saying, okay, this is somebody from another place at another time. It's why you feel the attraction. It's why you feel like you know them so well. But
Right.
also you're seeing red flags. So it's saying bypass this person, clear that karma, and move on to the person that maybe is waiting for you, but you'll never get to if you keep going back to the same situation. You can't change the results by doing the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
It just doesn't work that way. Yeah.
Some people don't get it.
They don't get it. I have a lot
Just
that
saying.
come see me, and they don't like when I say that, but
It's true.
inevitably it kicks in, and it's true, and it will save them a lot of pain and a lot of sadness if they could just get through moving on. Moving on's hard. It's very hard, no matter what it is, but sometimes it is absolutely for the best.
It's so funny. Sometimes you move on from something that you never really had, and you don't realize it until after you've moved on. And it's like, wait a minute, I made that whole thing up in my freaking head. Yeah, that's what overthinkers do, right? We overthink everything.
It's so true.
Yeah, it's
people sometimes just don't realize. They believe that it's this infatuation is so real, and it's never been there to begin with.
You have to mention to them, what did you lose? And you have to, I have a best friend who, if she's listening, she knows exactly that I'm talking about her. Overthinks and overthinks to the point where she even has a response for the other person who doesn't even know they're having a conversation with her. So no, it's true. Like, oh, if I say this and then this person's going to say that, I'm like, but you're not having the conversation. It's all up here. So I always say to her, when she said, I lost this, and I'm like, what did you lose?
Exactly. And
what did you lose? And she'll just look at me, and I'm like, that person was never in your life. She's like, oh my God. And then when you realize that, it's a good thing, because you realize you didn't lose anything at all, and you could just move on. I think overthinking is really hard.
It's a bad thing. I mean, and it's very, unfortunately, it's like, everybody has it. That and the impatience. We're not patient.
No,
we overthink, and we don't have the patience to do and be calm and let things come in the natural order.
And texting doesn't help.
No, wrong tone.
No emotion.
Wrong tone.
No tone.
No, because you're reading it in your feeling at that time, instead of how the person sent it to you. And you really got to know someone to be able to text someone.
Aren't you supposed to know that? I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're supposed to know what that is.
Right. I mean, I've been married almost 39 years, and I my husband will text me, and I'm like, don't take that tone with me.
But he can't argue with you because
like,
you're a medium.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm completely out of it when I get a text. I don't even know what's going on.
No.
I turn that off so bad it's crazy. But I wish I didn't. Overthinking and patience. Yes, I can hear my father ever since he passed. Every time I'm doing something, hear him say "paciencia, paciencia." Constant.
I heard him say,
Amelia. That I don't think was him though, because he's never said that to me. I'm trying to figure out who that was.
I don't know, because it was Italian.
I know, and it's not something that he would like. It's not. I was perfect in his eyes, but that's another show. So to hear him say that, I'm wondering if it was my uncle who sounds just like him. Like,
you didn't stop talking, and all he said was, "Oh, Amelia."
Oh, Amelia. And I'm thinking it was my uncle Dominic. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I'm thinking, because my dad would have just laughed, right? Where my Uncle Dominic would have corrected me. I'm just saying, you pay attention to those things when you're getting a reading, guys. But
yes, exactly. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Pay attention. Something or someone always comes through. It's just not always the person you're expecting.
It's exactly true. It is.
Yeah.
And irregardless, the message could be what your mother would tell you, or what your father would tell you. But somebody else is going to deliver it. So it's just different for everybody. But
I have a hard time with patience. Do you do a class on that? Because
you have a hard time, Amelia, with patience?
Oh, I suck at it. I am the worst person. Oh my God.
Whereas I'm very
You sound so patient.
I'm sly though. I'm an observer. So I'm very patient. It's almost like I'm examining my prey and just waiting to see.
Michelle's the nicer one out of the two of us.
Yeah, you just haven't seen it. That's all.
Yeah, I've never seen it. Although I've seen it when somebody's
examining your prey. I don't know.
I've seen that bad side come out when somebody hurt me once. That I did see. I saw Michelle go to after someone hurt me once, but that's probably why I don't see it, because we're so close. But patience is something that I would love to take a class on. I'm trying every day, though. I am trying every day.
That's wonderful. That's all it takes is to start to be mindful of it.
But it's hard for gifted people.
Very, because we have everything here and now.
People.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm impatient just sitting here. No, I'm kidding.
But it's true, right? Right?
Are you drinking wine?
You can be honest. You're making me feel better.
That might help.
I'm feeling really, really, really good right now.
Wine could help.
Wine could help.
It is different. It is difficult for gifted people because we do. I mean, everybody's gifts vary, but I think people with their gifts who have an edge, so to speak, our expectations are just different.
I think
what do you? Right?
I'm laughing. Why didn't you hear me say that in my head? What do you mean you didn't hear it?
I might have. I don't know where it came from. No.
In your head and out of her mouth.
That's often. We just did an interview together, and that's how the interview went. It was crazy. But anyway, it was hilarious.
No, seriously, we feel like we have an edge.
Maybe you guys are like split apart.
Maybe.
One soul that's split apart, and inevitably in every lifetime you find your way back
surprised.
To each other. So you can be each other's voices in each other's heads. It happens. So,
No, it happens. All right.
Yeah,
but what do you say to somebody that comes in? I mean, dealing with your abilities and trying to function in everyday life when you have. Because to me, this is sort of a harbinger. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's very difficult when you have a sort of an edge in any way to be able to just, coexist sort of thing. A lot of people like that tend to take control. And before you answer that, we have to do a station ID. Sorry. I saw the Folgers come up.
It's a good thing we're on camera.
Okay.
No psychic link. I just saw the jar.
It's a good thing we're on camera. If you're tuning in right now, you're listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and myself, Amelia Pisano. And our special guest tonight is Dr. Vicki Monroe, part 2, where we can actually really dig into her because she shared the other one with Laura DiDio, another amazing woman. If you're listening to us on FM radio, that would be 107.7 or 105.3 FM in New Orleans. We are on International Public Radio. We are United Public Radio, and we are fully sponsored by the amazing people at Folgers Coffee. Thank you, Folgers.
There we go. Okay, back now.
Yeah.
Now you can answer.
Very well done.
Thank you.
There was a lot of patience in Amelia.
Oh, it's just a deep breath. It's like it just happens every show on the hour mark. So yeah, been doing it a while.
Very good. Nice
Thank you.
done.
That's my patience for the day.
There you go. Comes in spurts.
Yeah.
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 So,
No, I mean, as you were asking Michelle, how. Yeah, you're gonna have to ask me again because that's the other thing that
That's okay. She's used to it. She has that with me. Don't worry.
it's like a squirrel moment. I love it.
Yeah.
No,
I'm really connecting with Dr. Vicki, just saying.
it's like how do you counsel somebody, with their abilities? Because sometimes the abilities take over. We have that edge. We feel like things should go a certain way. And it's almost, you have some people with a superiority complex. It is hard sometimes to be functional in society when you feel like, you don't belong here, you belong somewhere else. It's hard for some intuitive people to communicate with people who are not, because they just don't understand the same.
Right.
It's just a different existence.
Right. And you guys both know, how that is. So, I've had people where they'll come into my office and, they sit down and automatically I'm like, oh no, they're, I'm a full believer. I can't, and I'm trying to explain how I do things because every medium is a little bit different. We have our own little ways of speaking and doing things. The basic job is the same, but we're all a little bit different, and each individual. But if somebody's sitting across from me, it's so hard. There's where the patient thing, being patient, comes in. It's so difficult sometimes to be patient when I'm talking to someone that's crossed over. This person doesn't want to hear from them because that's not their boyfriend who they were madly in love with and passed away, and it's all very sad and everything, but their mother's trying to give messages to them, and they don't want to hear from that person.
That's hard.
Oh.
It's so hard when, and then you've got a room full of spirits, trying to get messages to this person, and this person just doesn't, it's not going to work for me. Nope. And it's always, and at that point you just sit there and like, I can't help you. I simply can't help you.
Difficult.
No,
and it really is.
Frustrating.
It hasn't happened, but maybe twice. But it's happened, and it really, it bothers me so much when I can't help somebody.
It stays with you,
doesn't it?
Yeah,
it makes me so emotional. I feel like a failure, and I feel.
Oh no, don't.
No, but
and the spirits just like
feel
keep following you around. Like, what's wrong with you? Why didn't you get it out?
Right. Am I wrong? Am everything that I've done in all these years, the things that I've done, is it not right? Am I wrong? Did I? You for a moment you can question yourself, and in those moments, they've not happened very often, but when they do, they're heartbreaking because I don't like ever questioning what I've been doing almost my whole life.
Yeah. It's hard when you're dead on as well, and they don't see it, and you're just like, really?
Yeah. I mean, your dad's right here. He wants a Bud Light. He's got the can. He's trying.
Like, what more do I need to tell you?
He's hitting you with the can right now. Can you feel it?
Oh my gosh.
How do you not know that?
I had one with a gold ring, and I said to the woman, her husband had just passed away, and I said, he's fiddling, and I even gave her husband's name, and you know what she said to me? Well, it's a Sicilian name. You could have guessed it anywhere. Everything was, I got up and I left because I actually did this reading as a favor to a friend. I don't do readings. I got up and I said, I'm done. I said, there's nothing that's going to make you happy. The last thing was the ring. I wonder if you ever went through this. It was a gold ring, and he's twisting it on us, and he's like, ask her, it's in her pocket. It's in her pocket. And I said, you have it in your pocket. It's not even in your purse.
Right.
And she's like, no, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. And her daughter's like, Ma, you have Dad's ring. And I'm like, no. I said, the gold is from Italy. I said,
Yeah.
he's making sure that he's telling me that. And
Right.
she goes, well, he doesn't have a ring from Italy. And her daughter goes, Mom, will you please take it out? She goes into her pocket, pulls out this ring and says, he had this, he got this here. And I looked at her, I go, where'd the gold come from?
Right.
And she went, the necklace was from Italy. He melted it down, had a ring. I even said custom made. I'm like, you know what? I said, I'm sorry. At 45 minutes into this, I go, I'm so sorry for your loss. I hope you all find the peace that you need to find, but you're not going to find it with me.
I hope that I can
That's
also
where my
find
patience,
my peace.
That's where my patience ran out. Was 45 minutes in. I think I did really well. And it sat with me. We're talking about something that happened in
2013. Right.
You know, 7 years, and it sat with me. Do you get those reads? Okay. Yeah.
So
I've definitely been in those situations several times, and it's very frustrating. And it sticks with you. It almost makes you just not want to do the readings anymore.
No, I've never done readings.
You know,
screw that.
Well,
I won't say I've never done it.
I wasn't doing them. This
I'm
was
not
a
a reader,
favor to someone that I know. And
If
asked
you
me,
happen
would you
to
mind
be there-
because her husband just passed away? And I'm like, I want 3 months. I don't want just passed away, for one thing. And I said, I'll do that for you. And I was livid walking out of there, like tears, just so frustrated.
It's so frustrating. It really is. There's, you know, and I just want to say, I don't know why you came here. You know, if you didn't want me to tell you the truth, I'm not going to make up something to make you happy.
Oh, everything had a reason. No,
right, absolutely. And you may not get it right now, but I always have them recorded.
She was recording it. I hope she enjoys it.
Yeah. Take that ring and stuff it right there.
Yeah. Anything I said was like, oh yeah, but every Italian has that. Well, you're Italian, aren't you?
God.
Like, what do you want from me? I didn't know what she was looking for, but I did shut off the reading with an illegitimate child, so I kind of won in the end. Just saying.
Oh well, there you go.
Anyway.
So then, off of the psychic readings, if somebody were looking for signs that their loved ones were visiting, because remember what we talked about earlier was that people they so desperately want to communicate with their loved ones that they sometimes fail to see the signs, or sometimes they will just settle for anything, and then something malevolent ends up coming in, you know, and because of their grief, you know, it just attracts certain types of energy that want to take advantage and feed off of that. So if people want to look for healthy signs that their loved ones are visiting, what are those signs?
Well, I would always tell people to look for, well, don't, you know, I don't even want them to look. I just want them to be observant.
Right.
Because when you're looking for anything. And then you can often shoot it down because you go back into your brain again, and everything has to be logical.
Right.
Well, let's face it, this is not logical. To us it is. To us.
Right. But
to the rest of humanity, it's not necessarily, you know, I don't know what else to call it. It's not logical. A lot of people would call it many different things, but it's logical to us. But I would tell them to, again, first thing, most people will ask me, I saw my dad in a dream. Was it him? And you know, was he smiling? He was so happy. Well, that was your dad, you know. And little messages like, I know a lot of spirits have like a sense of smell. Like this one man that I was talking to had a beer in his hand. You know, how she couldn't smell that beer.
He smelled like a Budweiser beer, right?
You know, or a perfume, or a favorite dish. Some will send like a beautiful butterfly or a bird, a cardinal, or whatever it is, right past your sight. Things that aren't usual to you, that you notice and you think, that's never been there before. Take that as a sign that someone that loves you sending you something. So you know, I'm right here.
Right.
Because electricity doesn't flow through wires. I tell people this, but it's there. They are energy, and they're there, whether you can see them or not. You have to. It comes down to a point of learning to trust in it. It's really about trust. You know, trusting in the good of that soul. And when you believe in them enough, you will get a sign. You will, because the
Right.
love is there. The love is there. If you're, I have never, and I got to be completely honest with you, Michelle, because I'd love to know more about this. I have never heard a story of a malevolent spirit coming to someone that's grieving. I've never seen that before.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I hear that. I don't want to see it.
No, I can't tell you the amount of people who've contacted me in grieving state. It's almost as though there are entities or things out there, interdimensional beings that do prey on people who are either depressed or anxious or and when you're grieving, you sort of throw caution to the wind. You're not really thinking about anything, and you want so hard to be able to communicate with the person you miss the most. Sometimes you grieve so hard that it's almost like leaving a door open a little bit and leaving yourself vulnerable.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm just glad it's never happened to me.
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen to me.
Me too. Yeah.
It's nice to learn about it because like your listeners are learning about this now. It's nice to learn about it because if I ever had somebody that did come to me that was going through this now, this is something that I'm learning from you. I've never ever had anything.
I've dealt with it for years, and once you just make them aware, and they just start switching. They just switch up a little bit. They just it's like, okay, I will find those other signs. Okay, this doesn't seem right. It's making them aware of what's not right, because all of a sudden they can't pull out of the depression. Everything in their lives are going wrong. They're just feel a heaviness all the time. The people in the house aren't doing well. Everybody's arguing. The pets are depressed. It just goes on and on and on. It's just beyond just grieving.
Sure. Yeah. Oh,
so Amelia.
We have a question in the chat room. Michael Bowman asks, speaking of dreams, should I pay attention to them more or do we overthink them?
Good question.
Good question.
Yeah.
That's a great question. And I do think we overthink dreams, but I think the more open that you are to your dreams, I don't think you'll have to question it. If you firmly believe like what you just saw was a one, don't question it so much. I mean, they can come in anyway. I always tell people pay attention to the eyes because when they say the eyes are the window to the soul.
Yes.
They are. And they don't change. In every incarnation, from what I've been told, on the other side is your eyes will always be the same. They may change colors, and they start new in each life, but they're always the same. So pay attention to that, but just little signs. If you're in a dream and suddenly you see someone that you know, I would accept that. That's just me, though. I would accept it and not overthink it too much. But just if it makes you feel happy and wonderful and you're glad to see them, why would you not? Why would you overthink it and think it's wishful thinking? A soul's not going to come visit you unless they want to.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'm not aware of the dark side of the force here. You guys, Michelle, you know more about that part because I've never had a living thing. So should people overthink or not?
I don't know. I mean, thinking over it is because I don't believe anybody should overthink anything. I think you should see things for what they are. Sometimes if things come in and you think it's a loved one and there's something off about it, like my mother, my father's not even passed, and my mother had a dream and he was in clothes that were too big for him. I said, okay, first off, he hasn't passed. Second of all, he would never wear clothes that's too big for him, and his eyes didn't seem right. I said, that's something that's trying to step in, push it away, and she did. There are things to look for,
Absolutely.
Yeah, your loved ones are not going to make you feel uncomfortable.
Absolutely not. That's how I feel too. So, don't overthink that. If it's someone that you cared about or a pet or even, places, because other lifetimes can come in and filter through as well.
Yes.
you'll get spots and pieces of different lifetimes, and it may make you feel great. And others may not. It's why you don't want to go to certain places. You may see that, and it's not working for you. But I agree with you completely. Don't overthink it. I think we're way too much into our heads and not enough into our feelings.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If it feels right, go with it. If it doesn't, then don't.
Yeah. I agree with you.
What are your thoughts on books of symbols with psychics? You see a lot of those books out there, and for me, I find it kind of hard because I think we all read our own language. I don't believe that there's this one. Do you agree?
Oh, I do. I absolutely agree. I think that if you, especially for people, like I've had people come to me for sessions and reads, and I read this book, and I read this book, and they're all different mediums from all different walks of life, but they say it's this way, but then this one said it's this way, but this one goes this way. Well, that's hard. That makes it very difficult because you're trying to talk to someone and give them your read, but they're arguing with you because of all the different things that they've already read. So is that what you're asking me?
Yes, because I find that the way to, because when people say to me, well, how do you know? And I just say, well, for me, it comes to me as this, and that's my understanding of this symbol is this. I think a lot of it is also because of television too. You see certain types of mediums out there on television, and they'll say, well, I'm not getting roses, or I'm not getting petals, or I'm not getting this. And I'm like, what? I don't even understand it because it's not the way I read. And I was just wondering if it was the same for you.
Yeah, it is.
You have your own unique set of symbols because of your guides, right? And your past loved ones. Yeah.
Right. And it's funny, you just said lilies, and one of the symbols that I often get is flowers. And another one that I might get, one that's really funny is I get, and I don't know where this one's coming from right now, but something tells me it's got to be on my father's side of the family, but it's barbecue utensils.
I love it.
My grandfather was burnt toast, so nothing surprises me.
Right? and I know when my dad, because sometimes it'll be like a locker room, and I'm just like, oh, ew, no.
Oh, that's nasty. My mom
Stop
smells
it.
like cookies. My mom smells like cookies or perfume. Yeah.
Well, I love, my father always used to wear Old Spice.
Right.
And it's often now if I'm doing a group reading or I'm whatever, and there's more than, there's several men in the audience, that's when I know the man wore cologne because I will smell Old Spice.
Yeah.
So that's one of my symbols is Old Spice. And the other one too is Chanel No. 5.
Oh, nice.
Women over 55 or 60.
Nice. Hey, I like Chanel No. 5.
But see, you're talking about all nice smells. When something,
I got bad ones. Oh, trust me, I've had outhouses and
but they associate that with more of a darker being, like foul smells.
No, I've never had that.
You just said you had an
like
outhouse.
sewage or sulfur or rotten eggs or rotting flesh or things like that.
You're freaking her out. She's not going to sleep tonight.
I've never had that.
You're fortunate.
If I have,
Maybe you block it out. Maybe you block it out.
Maybe I do. I don't know. But I'm not going to sleep tonight.
I'm just telling you, like 18 years, man, it is just like so stereotypical.
We just traumatized a doctor, Michelle. We just traumatized a doctor.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, you're learning something new,
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, those odors you do not want around you at all.
No.
At all.
No, I don't. And I used to work in a medical facility, and so I've worked with postmortem care and all of that. But and I've seen souls that have passed, and we haven't, their light isn't on yet, so we're not called to the room, but I'll go down to the room and you could smell it. You could just smell that death's present. I used to call it the breath of death because I would be in with a patient and I just knew it was coming because you could smell it in the room. And within a few minutes, they would cross over. And but then I'd see them leave the room and they were doing cartwheels and running. I'm done. Yeah, I'm out of here. That was the good part.
That is good.
That was because, I worked in geriatrics, so they were all on their way out. So
yeah, that's
happy it can be to be leaving that place,
Yes.
But yeah, so I guess in that respect, I've smelled that kind of a thing, and postmortem care could be kind of not great, but I
No.
don't know if I've ever smelled stuff like that. I mean, and the thing is, I've done haunted houses in Europe, but I don't, like you said, Nicole. I'm Nicole. What did you say, Nicole? Who's Nicole?
That's my sister. That's all right.
Oh my
God, that is so funny. Yes, little Nikki.
Oh my
I call her little Nikki. I do.
Yeah, that's strange. But Amelia, I was going to say, maybe I do block that out. Because I know when I was little, my mom had told me that there were a lot of things that I guess I saw, I don't remember, that were very dark, and I would have night terrors.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember it, and I'm glad I don't. So
that's good.
Maybe I've blocked it. I don't remember it, but I know I would just go running into her room, or I'd be paralyzed, literally in my bed, in fear of what I don't want to remember, and I'm not going to remember because I don't want to, but
there's no need.
That could be something, I guess. I don't know.
Mindset.
Yeah, there's no need. Maybe here's a question, and it's going to be pretty obscure, but a lot of really gifted people actually have alien encounters, and they have no idea.
Yeah, no, I've had those.
Have you? There you go.
Yeah.
Amelia's in denial, but that's okay.
No, never did. Never happened.
So,
no.
I've had them. Yeah.
No, I'd rather sit across from a growly.
Were your experiences positive?
Yeah, absolutely. Except, well, I shouldn't say all of them, but I had one experience when I had just moved to New England with my family after we got out of the military, and I was pregnant with my fourth, with my daughter, and my husband was away. And this was a brand new area. I had never been to this part of New England before, and it was really remote. And the first night that he was away on business, I had never heard a Fisher cat before. I don't know if you guys have ever heard them before either. When they kill something, it sounds like that when they cry out, it literally sounds like a woman being massacred.
I've actually heard of those, yes.
God, no, I haven't.
It's horrific.
Yes.
And I went to my window. It was summertime, and I looked out the window, and I could hear the neighbor that was across the street saying, "Who is it? Who is it?" And not realizing that it was, it was a Fisher cat. So I was terrified, and I called my husband, and I was talking to him. But then when I hung up the phone, I stopped, and all of a sudden I noticed it was extremely quiet. There was no sound where there had been people talking. And I went to my window. I
know that sound, or lack of. Yes.
Completely silent, and there was a gray right outside the window. But you know what she looked like? I knew it was female, but she looked half human, half gray.
Oh, hybrid.
Yeah, she had long hair. She, I don't want to say she was attractive, but she just looked half whatever. And she was and the feeling, she didn't speak, but I knew right away she was angry, so angry.
Oh.
And she was angry because my husband wasn't there.
Oh, so he's the contactee then?
Yes, that's what I think.
Oh,
that's what I thought.
Wow.
He ended up calling me later that night, telling me somebody had sat on his bed. He's in Ohio. And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, he woke up, and he said he woke up sobbing.
Wow.
And he said, "What was it?" And I told him what I saw. And he goes, "Well, it can't be that." And I said, "Well," but the next day we did find out that one of his dearest neighbors, back when he was a boy, had passed away, and she was in her 90s. So I said, "I believe she came to see you." And the woman outside the window, she was just mad because you weren't home. But it was, there's no talking to her either. Just looking at her like, I don't know what you're fucking do.
Wow.
You got something that moves faster than a plane. Go get him.
Exactly.
Yeah, no
kidding. Papers. Wow.
I love that. Go get him.
That is actually really interesting, because there is that theory, that along with negative blood type individuals.
Right. And my husband's negative. My daughter is, and
Very cool.
my mother-in-law has RH factor.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
both her
That
husband
were
and she are negative.
All the
So,
negatives. Yeah.
All the negatives.
Yep.
With all the perks, but all the negatives.
Yeah, there's just a whole lot of bonuses with
there.
that, isn't there?
Just a
But
bundle
you know,
of love
and now I
with
have
that blood.
grandchildren that are negative too.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's
Yes.
interesting. Yeah, that makes
Yes.
sense. It does.
Yep, that is something else, I'll tell you, but it's a
tell
whole
ya.
other show. But
It
we
is.
are infringing, just getting closer to the 11 o'clock mark, unfortunately. So why don't you tell everybody what you have coming up, how to find you, and yeah, just promote.
Well, they can. I'm sorry.
Promote.
Oh, promote. PR.
Yes.
Yes, they can. They can go to my website, VickiMonroe.com, and that's Vicki with an I, and check out events. I have shows coming up in Agunquit, Maine. Coming up, actually, I have one this Tuesday and throughout August, September. Right through. And we're actually working on a new. We're actually trying to put together a podcast here. How well that will happen, I don't know. Because I'm in the middle of nowhere. I don't know how that's going to work. But we also have a couple projects that we're working on for television that is completely different than anything that I'm seeing on TV now.
Good for you.
Yeah,
that would be refreshing.
That would be very refreshing. Yeah, it really would be.
Yes.
And it would be interesting to pull in different people like yourselves, to give feedback on shows and things like that. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even after we traumatized you?
Know what they're talking about. I'm sorry?
Even after we traumatized you?
You
Quiet now.
Oh,
you're going to ruin everything.
Poor Dr. Vicki. Poor Dr. Vicki.
You're going to ruin everything, Bubbles. Be quiet.
Oh my God.
She's never going to talk to us again. Keep that up.
Yeah, we're all going to need one.
Yeah, we are.
Wow. Oh, okay, so please continue the podcast.
Yes, and I also, well, we're working on that. And also, I do reads, I do in-person sessions, and I, for now, still do some phone sessions. And it's just kind of the way that people that I've worked with overseas and things can get a hold of me. I still do those, but they are limited. So it's more getting back out and touring and things like that. So people can watch for updates and everything on the website to see where I'll be next. But yeah, we're getting out there and we're moving around, and we are working on some books too. So nothing about telling people how to be things. It's just basically my Laura's working on my story. So Laura DeVille. So
yes, of course, she's wonderful.
Yeah. So I mean, lots of things going on, but everything kind of still on hold a little bit. We'll see how things go with COVID and all that. So yeah, that's kind of put everything on hold. Yeah, it's put everything on hold.
It has for everybody.
So, yeah. But it sounds like you've got it all together, and it sounds like it's going to be really, really exciting. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, so Michelle, I mean, I've done so many pilots.
Oh yeah.
I've done them. Discovery and everything else, and it's just, it is what it is, and it's if it happens, it happens. That's great, but the more people you can help doing what you do, I think you guys got the best thing going right now.
Hey, I've been doing media and television, radio, print for 18 years. I was approached with this never before seen concept, and I helped design the concept. And as soon as it went to a network for syndication, it got stolen. And it is now on TV doing something entirely different under a different name. Oh, yeah. I just went, boy, does that look familiar. So, I am just whatever. I've
that's how I feel.
It matters. It's about
happens,
for
great.
Sure. Yeah.
If it doesn't, not a big deal.
No, I don't care about any of it.
Radio is my favorite. Radio is my favorite. You
I
can
like radio.
Reach an audience. You can interact. It's fabulous.
Oh, absolutely.
We get to meet people like you. We adore you. You're so much fun.
Oh, thank you. You guys are great. No,
Thank you.
I mean, I agree. You guys have, the best thing going, and I applaud you both. You do great. You do a great job.
Thank
Well,
Good
you.
work.
Thank you. We're actually nominated in 2 categories of the podcast People's Choice Awards.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I totally understand why.
Well,
We were
thank you.
shocked.
We were shocked. It was
Oh,
nice.
We're
No.
very young to be up there, so
Well, yeah. So the show's only a couple years old, not even. So yeah, it's pretty good, But we have, a large listener base. Our people love
Yeah.
us. We love them. So,
That's
but
great.
please connect with us again when your book is out, and we have
Absolutely.
things going on, and
Mhm.
maybe we can look at doing this again at some time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
thank
You're
you. Have a
welcome.
good night. We'll
Thank
talk to you
you.
soon.
You.
Thank you.
Take
Yeah.
care.
Cheers.
Cheers.
indeed.
Salud.
Salud.
That's
Bye,
it.
ladies.
Night.
What a doll.
Well, we've come to the end of another awesome segment here in the Outer Realm. Thank you to everybody who tuned in, especially Dr. Vicki Monroe. She's just such a sweetie. Big thank you to Joe Montaldo, who's monitoring things behind the scene like the great wizard that he is. This evening's segment is, of course, totally sponsored by Folgers Coffee, who, again, I can't stress enough how much we love you and thank you. Please remember to stop by the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, International Public Radio. Subscribe and catch the archives there, at least, among other places. Feel free to head over to Facebook and Instagram for the Outer Realm. Show us some love. If you need to contact us to be a guest on the show, or perhaps to see a guest on the show, have a specific topic, message us at the Outer Realm Contact at gmail.com. Again, the Outer Realm Contact at gmail.com. And in the big news, please head over to the podcastawards.com. Find the Outer Realm on not under just one category, but 2. You'll find us under social and culture category and the actual People's Choice Awards, which is huge. That one was a big surprise that just came in. Kindly cast your vote, hopefully for us. Thank you. And look for our peers also, which being Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast under Education, Storytelling, and Drama, and also under People's Choice Awards. The Centralists under the News category, Science and Beyond under the Science category, and we also have Chasing Prophecy under Religion, so don't forget about them. Tomorrow night, we have 2 more great guests. We will welcome back Utu Witch Doctor. I know, just the name says it all, doesn't it? He's coming back to the show, and he will be joined by Kat Thagard, who's just awesome, all the way from Niagara Falls, Canada. They're going to be discussing voodoo, the voodoo spirit that likes to hang out at Kat's store, water cryptids of the Great Lakes. There's just so much information coming. They are just 2 amazing people, and we're all going to have a really good time. So please remember to tune in. Until then, thank you. We'll see you tomorrow night. And we're doing this again.